Awesome. Welcome to summer 2025. You may be in real estate principles, in real estate practice, or in legal aspects of real estate. Maybe you're in two or all three of them. And so we're all here together. What you'll see tonight is that I've kind of honed in on a system I feel that works for me and also works well for my students. And so the three classes look very, very similar as far as their structure goes, the layout, the menus, the information. Obviously, the content is different in the three different classes. The quizzes, the books, the assignments are different in the three different classes, but they are structured very, very similarly. So what we will do tonight is we will look at a syllabus of one of those three classes. We will look at the Canvas shell of one of those classes so that you have a very clear expectation. You know what's expected of you moving forward for the next 8 weeks. And then most importantly, too, what you need to do this week to jump in and get moving. So real quick, I'm going to cover three things basically. I'm going to give you some information on me, kind of where I'm coming from. Not that I love talking about myself, but I find that it might help you to hear where my experience is, and kind of how I came to be here at IBC. We're going to talk about the expectations of the class and how to find everything that you need to, again, in Canvas and in the syllabus. And then three, I'm going to show you exactly how to succeed in this class and meet your goals. If your goal is to get an A in this class or these classes, I want to show you exactly how to get that A. If your goal is to just survive and get a C and get credit for the state, that's fine too. Maybe you're busy, you're working, you got kids at home or family at home, you've got other stuff going on. I get that. I want to help you get there. So it doesn't bother me if your goal is to get a C and just get credit, right? And that's fine too. So I want to show you exactly how to do that, exactly how to get the points, exactly what you need to do to earn those grades. One of the things, again, is I've developed this system both in Canvas and with the grading, is that I've given you a really broad opportunities to earn points. And if you're showing up and you're getting your work done every week, you have every opportunity to earn an A in this class. Just like the real world. If you show up and you're getting your stuff done every week, every day at work, right? Likely going to keep your job. Now, if you want to get promoted, you want to get an A, you're going to really focus in on how you can achieve those highest points possible. But I'm going to spell all that out for you. It's very clear for you, both in the syllabus and in Canvas. So I'll start off just with a little bit about me. I grew up in Long Beach, moved out to Santa Ana when I got married after college. I had no idea what I was going to do out of high school. I went to Long Beach City College for 2 years after high school, had some of my best teachers at Long Beach City. And I think somewhere in the back of my head, that's how I ended up back at community college because I had, even at my bachelor's degree at a private university, my master's degree at a public, Cal State Fullerton, and then even at my doctorate degree, I had some of my best teachers at Long Beach City College. And I can tell you that at IVC, we have amazing faculty, we have amazing services and benefits for US students. And so I'm happy to be such an amazing district, an amazing college that focuses so much on supporting your needs and helping you learn. At the community college, that's pretty much my whole job is to help you learn. We're not required to research or to publish like at the four-year institutions. And so I love the community college system. One that we, again, often able to bring you just great instruction, instructors like myself that come from industry. And again, our whole job is to help you learn. So I went to Long Beach City College for 2 years, was able to transfer right after graduation. I was having a conversation with my brother-in-law after, I'm sorry, graduation, getting married. My brother-in-law, we were talking about real estate investing, and at the time, Rich Dad, Poor Dad was kind of a newer thing. A book, if you haven't read it or not familiar with it, talks about passive income and doing that through real estate ownership. And we were having a conversation, and he said, "You need to go get your real estate license." And I said, "I don't want to be a real estate agent. What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, if we're going to do this and we're going to learn how to buy property and how to do this passive income thing, you have to go and figure it out." And I thought, oh, great. I did not want to sign up for that. So I became an agent in 2002. I got my salesperson's license. I was in your shoes. I took my classes at Orange Coast College at the time. Got licensed 2002 and jumped right in. Thankfully, a friend of a friend had experience and was working in apartment buildings. And so I jumped pretty much right into the apartment building sales. So just like you'd use an agent to buy or sell a house, I did that from with 2 to 50 apartment buildings, 2 to 50 unit apartment buildings. And so the marketing is different, niche market's different. It's the same license and in general the same process, although there's some differences there. Financing may be a little bit different. But what's really cool and what I experienced in those 9 years, I worked 9 years full time doing apartment sales, where my income was coming from commission, right? So if you're looking to get your license, right, I've done it. We can talk about that stuff. Um, Overlapping that, sorry, I'm getting lost in my story. Overlapping those 9 years full time, I had the opportunity to teach at nights, ironically, back at OCC, where I had taken my real estate classes, and hopped into the classroom teaching at night. So I was working during the day in the office, pretty much 9 to 5, 5 days a week, selling real estate. I started teaching at night, 2 nights a week at OCC. And then I also, at that same time, decided I wanted to go back and get my master's in business to learn more about actually doing business that I was, doing okay at during the day, but I wanted to learn more. So it was a very, very busy time. But I found out during that time that I really, really enjoyed teaching. And I found it much more fulfilling for me personally than the day in and day out sales of real estate. And so, overlapping those 9 years of full-time real estate, I started teaching for 2 years, overlapping that, and then decided to transition from full-time real estate into higher education. So, I was able to get a job as a full-time employee for a private university, nonprofit university, and it was more administrative work, which also my MBA really helped with. And it was during that time that it really kind of solidified for me, like, oh, I'm going in the right direction here. Ironically, since I was 18, I'd been self-employed in one way or another for my whole adult life until that point. And so that was my first really like full-time job as an employee. And I remember being nervous, like, oh my gosh, my future and my paycheck is reliant on this organization that, I can't really control. And so it's interesting because I know a lot of you might be feeling that way about going into self-employment. Just to show you though, it's never I feel like in business, right? Whether you're self-employed or whether you're relying on somebody else's company, there can always be challenges and ups and downs in the market, ups and downs in the industry. And so it might feel scary to jump into being self-employed, but I want to encourage you that there are ways you can do it. And in this class, and how I've structured this class is really about that, right? It's about doing the work, putting in the time and that leading to success. So after that university that I was working at full time, I worked there for 4 years. They had a doctorate program. I realized it was a good time for me to jump in. Although it wasn't free, I got a discount there, which was amazing. Was able to earn my doctorate degree right before coming in to teach at IVC. So I'm grateful to be here. I just finished my 10th year at IVC. So I've been teaching real estate classes for the last 10 years full time, but prior to that, even a total of since 2007. That's crazy. 18 years I've been teaching. That's nuts. So clearly I enjoy it. And I hope that comes through in the instruction. I hope as you take these classes, you leave and you go, oh my gosh, Rick, he was my favorite teacher. He's the best teacher I've ever had. I hope you get that experience from these classes. I want you to walk away feeling like you learned something. And again, feeling like you are moving towards your goals, whatever that is. Maybe it is to transfer, maybe it's to get licensed, maybe it's to get licensed at some point in the future. But hopefully, I'm able to bring that knowledge to you and make it a purposeful time for you these next 8 weeks. So that's a little bit about me. Gosh, I have 4 kids. They're all adopted. I have 2 older ones that are in their 30s, so I've got 7 grandkids. And I've got my 2 younger ones are 12 and 13. So I stay busy um, outside of teaching. I do still stay involved in real estate. I have not represented anybody else, like represented them as an agent, for probably like a dozen years. But I have stayed involved. I'm very hands-on with the property that I own. I just did an owner builder addition and rehab over the last year, where I was out, doing the stuff, digging trenches, nailing stuff together, and that kind of thing. I also do some consulting on real estate contracts and also with some nonprofit organizations. And so outside of real estate, some of the areas that I have enjoyed, I've still been able to do in real estate and stay connected to the industry without having to rely on the day in and day out sales, like I mentioned, that for me really got tiring. And I'm grateful to have the stability of an income, of a full-time job, but also the flexibility to be able to stay involved in the industry too. Gosh, I think it's it. I was a first-time college student in my family. So some of you, I know I've gotten emails already from some of you saying, "Oh my gosh, this is my first college class," or "This is the first time I've taken an online class." Some encouragement. Everybody is coming into this class with the same base level of understanding of real estate. Real estate kind of has its own language. And so coming into this program, coming into these classes, you're going to be learning some new language. A lot of that language is legal language, but obviously in the world of real estate. And so again, we'll see what those requirements look like moving forward. I just want to, start off by saying you're going to be okay. We can do it together. I'll show you exactly how to do it. A real quick overview. I didn't say this in my three things, but I wanted to go over really quick because sometimes I'm surprised I get questions in week 2 and 3 from students, and they're like, "How do I get my real estate license?" So just really quick, if you don't know, just to kind of bring us up to speed, these classes that you're taking this summer count towards the Department of Real Estate pre-license classes. The Department of Real Estate defines what is required to get a real estate license. And so you have to take 3 classes to qualify to take your real estate salesperson exam. So kind of think of it in 2 steps. You take real estate principles required, real estate practice required, and then the third class is an elective. So that can be legal aspects of this summer. It could also be a number of other classes at IVC, like business law, accounting, economics. There's a lot of other classes that can qualify as that elective. We also have at IVC come fall another several elective classes that you can take. Any of the credit real estate classes at IVC can count towards that pre-licensure. Once you take those 3 classes, you send off an application and some money to the Department of Real Estate, and you qualify for your real estate exam. Once you pass that exam and you want to become licensed and get your license, there's some more fees, some fingerprinting, and you identify what broker you're going to be working with moving forward. If you don't want to start working right away, you can sit and pass your exam, but not get licensed right away, or pay for the license, but be inactive without a broker. If you want to accomplish that goal and hold on to that so that you're ready to go when you're ready, um, that license is good for 4 years. And so hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight. Step one, these 3 classes, pass the test. Step two, applying for the license, fingerprinting, fees, and broker. Now you can do both of those at the same time, but you have to have all that information up front, right? You have to do your fingerprints. You have to know what broker you're working with. But if you're motivated and you want to start working right away, you can take these classes the next 8 weeks, apply to the state. Usually takes 6 to 8 weeks to get a test date. You're studying for the exam during that window of time. And then you can start working right away after passing the test. We do have as well, I mentioned the 2 classes that are required and many electives that we have at IVC. We have, I think it's 6 different electives that you can take. We also have RE 250, which is called exam prep, real estate exam prep. If you take it with me, that's great. If you don't take it with me, take a crash course somewhere. It's only a 1 unit class at IVC, and that 1 unit class, it's like, what is it, $47 or something for the 1 unit? Usually there are online programs that you can buy, kind of study prep materials. They're usually 100, $150. I've seen them up to $300, $400. So we have a pretty good, good deal price wise at IVC if it fits into your schedule for RE 250, the exam prep class. I see some questions in the chat. I'll hit that in a second. Lastly, in addition to those credit classes, We've just this past year launched non-credit real estate classes at IBC. I'm really excited about these because we're able to take not just the theory and the law and the state requirements of the credit side, but look at the non-credit side, we're really focusing on practical information. And so we have a class that's talking about real estate investments. Um, what are the other ones? We have Intro to Construction and Inspections. We've got what was one of the other ones we did? We have four right now. Those non-credit, and we already have three that are in the pipeline for next year coming in, and I'm writing like three or four more right now. I'm gonna blow up the non-credit side. Cool thing is there's no grades. You can pop in and you're there to learn. So there's no pressure of grades. There might be assignments, but there's not a letter grade. The other cool thing is that they're free. These are free classes. So I had in my class this last semester, I had agents that were already licensed coming into class, learning about properties and how they work because they didn't know. They were licensed, but they didn't know how the plumbing worked in a house. They didn't know how the kitchen cabinets and the countertops worked, or what materials, there were. And so, really cool practical information coming on the non-credit side, which is really exciting. Real quick, some questions in the chat, and then I'll jump over into Canvas so we can get a look at that. What third class do you highly recommend to help you pass the state exam? So the third class, I honestly don't feel like there's not a magic third class that will help you pass the state. I really suggest, I think in general, if you really don't have a passion for one area, legal aspects is a good one. It tends to be a little bit more difficult though, because it's focused a lot on the law. And law and legal language can be a little bit difficult to understand, for a lot of people. And so it might be a little bit of a harder class, but it's really broad in the law exposure. Um, However, you can pick any other elective. If you're taking other classes at IBC, again, like a business law, accounting, um, what is it, managerial and or managerial, or I forgot the other accounting, macroeconomics. Those can count towards the elective. Or maybe you say, oh, I really want to invest one day. And so I'm going to jump in and figure out how I'm going to be able to finance that in the future, take a finance class. Or I want to learn about property management. I'd like to do that as a job or as an agent, or maybe for my own properties in the future, take property management. If there's an area that you're interested in, I find that more students, you have more buy-in, you have more skin in the game. And so you want to learn more. And so I feel like any third class for the elective can be useful for you just to help you learn. To help you pass the state exam, you're going to take these three classes, whatever that third class is. You're going to be done, pass them. Then we're going to focus on studying for the state. You have that 6 to 8 week window to study. And again, take RE 250 or any other crash course and focus on that preparation to study for the state exam. So we're going to be learning in these three classes foundational theoretical knowledge of the industry and these topics. We're going to be learning about the legal piece of that. But really these three classes are about building the foundation, right? After these three classes, then focus on studying and prepping for the state exam. Is non-credit good to take before or after getting licensed? Great question. If your goal is to get licensed and to start working in the industry, take the credit, pass the state, and then you can broaden your horizons and learn whatever you want to learn about. And figure out where your niche markets are, right? What you want to focus on in your work. So I would suggest doing non-credit after getting licensed. If your goal is to get licensed and working sooner than later, focus on the license first, jump through the state hoops, then focus in on how to do the job, how to run your business. Can I put required courses to qualify for the California real estate exam in the chat? Real estate principles. It's the two classes that we are running this summer, and RE practice. Perfect. And I see somebody else. Thanks for noting that. RE 170 and 172. If you've already taken an elective through another college, not a problem. The DRE doesn't care what college you take the classes at. So long as you're going to be, when you apply at the DRE, they're going to want your transcripts to show that. And so that's fine. If you take your classes at other places as well, you would just have to forward on the transcripts to encapsulate the three requirements. Can I repeat the part of being inactive or active taking the sales exam? So yeah, so if you want to take these three classes, go and get your state license, but you don't plan on working right away, you can still get your license. It'll be yours for 4 years. And when you want to start working, maybe in 6 months or a year from now, you're like, now I want to go. You have the license in hand. The only piece that's required at that point is for you to sign up under a broker. The broker does the paperwork for you, and you can start working under that broker right away. If you want to start working right away, then when you pass the test and apply for your license, pay the fees, you have to list what broker you're working under to be actively working in the industry. Hopefully that clarifies in that same question. Yeah, so you do need to identify a broker whenever you want to start working, whether that's right away or in the future if you have your license in hand. So for me myself, again, I have my license still, but I haven't represented anybody in a decade, 12 years almost, I think. Um, I still have my license. It's still active. I still have it hung under a broker, but I'm not working, right? And so for you, maybe you want to get that license again, but if you're not going to be working, likely you're just not going to have a broker signed up with you yet. Awesome. Let's jump into Canvas. I want to get some eyes on the system and show you what you're going to be doing in this class. So in front of us, we see Canvas. First off, under the Account tab, if you haven't been using Canvas at IVC before, there's this button called Notifications. In this tab at Notifications, you can select what information you get and when, and how you want to get it. So you can select, I want to receive announcements when they're sent to my email or maybe your text. I want to see a grade change when it happens. I want to see maybe a grade change at the end of the week, not every time it happens or something. You get to control how you get notified. So do check on that notifications tab and update those settings so that you're getting the information you need. Um, I have what looks in front of you. It looks to be super simple, but I don't want you to confuse that with being easy, if that makes sense. It's very simple on purpose. I want it to be very clear and easy for you to access and navigate. So you'll see up top the home button. That's what we're looking at right when you log in. You'll see the most recent announcements pop up, and you'll see some static information here. It doesn't change. Um, this is the link to our book. We'll discuss this a little bit more, our digital book. Here's a link to the syllabus. We'll be looking over that as well. Here is Zoom, this link that we're using right now for this classroom, for this meeting. For the summer, I don't have set office hours, but I am able to meet with you if you have some sort of questions that you really want to, discuss. I'm happy to do that. These classes are asynchronous. So what we'll see in just a minute here is how the class is set up and the resources that are available to you. I have a lot of videos that are posted that you can watch to get my perspective and me talking about the chapters. You've got the theory and the law and the foundational stuff that you're learning in the chapters. And then usually in my lectures, I try to talk about the real world perspective on that stuff. And so we'll look through those in just a minute again, but week by week, you'll see those different resources available to you. If there are questions, the fastest way to get me is to email. If you've emailed with me already now before the class, you'll notice I usually reply back pretty quickly, and sometimes into the wee hours of the night. I get a lot of my work done at nights, although I check my email all the time. Coming from the self-employment world, that's just kind of part of my practice now. So I try to get back very quickly via email. If you really want to have a conversation, I'm happy to do that. We can set up a time, and here's the link to the room. We can, figure out what a best time is for both of us. Irvine Valley College can help you if you have any Canvas issues. Canvas is pretty stable, so I don't foresee there being any big issues with Canvas, the system that we're in right now. Um, the system that we're using for your book, your online digital book, is a company called GRL. We have kind of this unique partnership where we have the hardcover published content of Dearborn, which has been in the real estate industry and in the publishing world for many, many decades. GRL is kind of this online environment to access the information, to read the book, to answer questions, to answer quizzes, to take final exam is all in the GRL support, the GRL system. Their support is right here. You'll see there's options to call, email, chat, several layers here. So if you run into an issue and you're like, I can't get to the book, I can't log in, or I can't find the chapters, or it's not working for me. Unfortunately, I can't troubleshoot that. I'm not that big of a tech guy. But here's support for you to find help from the GRL system. It's also usually very stable, but this is all just here as a resource for you. It may look overwhelming, but here is the entire course requirements for you in one glance. Now, again, if you're in principles, practice, or legal aspects, all of this looks very, very similar. The scheduling, the assignments. Now, again, the content in these assignments, in the chapters, in the quizzes are different, right? But the system, the structure is almost identical in the three classes. So you'll see pretty much every week. We'll look at every week, week by week in the modules tab in just a second. But here you can see every assignment already scheduled out for you. I do a lot of work on the front end for my online classes because I want you to see exactly what's required of you for the whole class. This might look overwhelming, but maybe you like seeing everything in one run. Here you can go to the homepage and see this information. To look back at all of the announcements, you can use this link. Here is where I really want to direct your attention and highlight your requirements. Under the modules tab, we have everything in a week by week module here. Here you'll see a student orientation. I have several videos that are in here to help get you up to speed. If you're new to online education, you're new to IVC, you're new to IVC real estate, I talk about some different things here in regards to real estate. I also talk about the support that's available to you both in our program and in the college. I give you some videos, and these are not long videos. How to access support, some tips on learning as an online student, understanding what technology needs. One of the great things I didn't mention with GRL is that you can access it from any smart device. So whether you're on a laptop, a tablet, your phone, if you can get to the internet, you can look up the information on GRL. I don't know if I could do it, but I have students every semester that tell me, hey, I took the entire class on my phone. Um, I say that to highlight the fact that this information is available to you. Whatever device you have, you're going to be able to access this information. Now that might take, a lot of like zooming or scrolling, right? If you're on a smaller platform screen. But it's available to you. So both this Canvas and the GRL system, these two systems that we're using for these next 8 weeks, you can access on whatever devices you have. Here is a student orientation assessment, right? I give you 10 points right off the bat just to answer some questions to make sure that you're jumping into this class understanding what's required of you. Um, it's an easy 10 points. You can take it multiple times. All right, so don't get stressed, but do jump in and take this orientation this week. And we are here for only 8 weeks, right? So we're jumping into week 1 and we're hitting the ground running. So hopefully you've been into Canvas already. If you have not, please get in there. If you have not logged in by tomorrow, I legally have to drop students as no-shows if you've never logged in this week. So please do get in there by tomorrow if you have not yet come into Canvas. That's the most important piece right now. If you haven't done it, log into Canvas. When you get in there, start scrolling around, I can see at least that you've accessed the content, that you've logged in. When you can, hopefully sooner than later, please access the GRL system. We will look at that website in a minute. Week 1, we have a discussion board. So every week as we go through our content, we have a discussion board. This discussion board is a prompt. There is no right or wrong answer. I'm usually not week 1, we're just getting to know each other. But when you get into week 2, I'm asking you about one of the concepts that we're learning that week, and I'm asking you to form an opinion about that concept. Again, there's no right and wrong. I just ask you to answer the question and give me your why. This is what I think. This is what I would do because you're explaining yourself there. I also have you respond to other students that are in the class each week. And so just so you get some eyes on, this is what the rubric looks like. So when you're coming in here, there's no surprises here. You can see exactly how to earn your points. You can see in your initial post, 3 to 4 good sentences, you're going to get your full 5 points. Here's the responses to your classmates. Again, I'm looking for, we're having a conversation. Since we don't have the benefit of sitting in a classroom together for 3 hours a week, um, this is kind of a substitute for that interaction that you would normally have in a classroom, right? And so when I grade these, and especially after week one, I grade them very quickly because I want you to see kind of how you ranked in the rubric, right? And it shouldn't be a surprise. You can see the descriptions in here. But I use this rubric to grade all of the discussion boards. So in our week one, the GRL system allows you to retake quizzes over and over again. So I don't want you to stress too much in the sense that you have to get perfect scores on your quizzes in this week one when everything is new and it's crazy and I have to do a discussion board and I got to log in and I got to read the chapters and don't get overwhelmed. You can come back, revisit those chapters and redo the quizzes to maximize your points. If you can this week, please get through chapters 1 and 2. Take a run at the quizzes, but if you can, get in there and do that. If you don't get chapters 1 and 2 done, you're not going to be penalized necessarily this week. But what worries me is then we get into week 2 and then you've got to do 4 chapters. And all of a sudden you can see the snowball effect, right? Then it feels even more overwhelming and even more things to do. So please do, again, use our modules tab over here on the left to see exactly what's required of you each week. These virtual lectures, again, that's just me on screen. I oftentimes share screen and take notes on screen to talk through different concepts. Again, bringing some real world and some context to the theory that you're reading about in the book. So you can see those quizzes are listed here. These quizzes are taken, again, complete in GRL. We'll look at that system next. Here's week 2. Right, next week, some lecture videos. Here's your discussion board again, and the chapter quizzes. Week 3, very similar, lecture videos, discussion board, chapter quizzes. And in week 3, I add an exercise. Now, again, depending on your class, principles, practice, legal aspects, this exercise will be different, right? These aren't the same exercises, but they are slated in the same week 3. I want you to get ramped up, getting used to, these first 2 weeks, getting used to the system, getting used to the reading. And then in week 3, I'm giving you an extra little assignment there. The point of my exercises is to bring some real world outside of my lectures, outside of the theory of the book, to bring some real life perspective to this stuff. And so in the different classes, those exercises starting in week 3 kind of bring that real life. These exercises are not meant to be hard. I give you very clear directions and step-by-step instructions in the exercises. It just really comes down to taking the commitment, the time commitment for you to get those done. So next up, I'm going to go back to the home page and we're going to look at that GRL system real quick. And then lastly, before we go, we're going to look at the syllabus as well. So here's the link to the GRL website. Great River Learning is what it stands for. I have directions that on the page we just left on Canvas, and it looks like my internet's really slow right now. I apologize. So if you've ever been on this website, you can sign in. If you've never been to this website before, you're going to go down to the purchase link. You're going to search for Irvine Valley College. You're going to look for your class. So real estate practice, real estate principles, and real estate law is how it's listed. The book was written as real estate law. Legal aspects of real estate, same thing there. click on the title, and then you will select your section. Should be pretty clear, whichever class you're in there. And then it's basically like any other purchase on a website. They have you enter in your information, billing information. Here's your password, right? You're going to log in like any other website to access that content. So that's pretty it. That's pretty much it to be able to get into the book and start reading. Um, I'll see if we have a little bit of extra time. What I'll do is take this to the next step and actually log in and show you what the title looks like, what the book looks like. So you have a kind of a mental picture of that as well. But I want to make sure I get through some of the other details in the syllabus before we do that. So back over into Canvas, we have our home page, right? That's what we're on right now. We have our, sorry, it's been a long day for me too. We have our GRL link here to buy your book. Here's the syllabus link. Oh, it just occurred to me. I had a student email me and say, hey, the syllabus is wrong. I think it might be in the practice class. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because it's available for you to see, okay? We're going to start on the last page. So pardon my fast. Oh, that's not working. Well, let me check the chat real quick. Prince Practical Professor, you dropped me from legal aspects. I have not dropped anybody. So if you got dropped from a section, it wasn't me. I'm not sure what happened there. But if anybody needs a draw or an ad code for any of the classes, please email me, let me know, and I can get you in for sure. Where are the videos found? Hopefully that question was answered. As we just saw in the Canvas modules, the links for the videos, the lecture videos are there. For the introduction, can we do a video instead? You can. You can type it or you can do a video. I have some students too that are like, hey, I'm in your principles and practice and legal aspects. Do I have to create a different introduction for each one of those classes? No, there are three different classes. So if you happen to be in all three classes, imagine yourself being in three different rooms, right? With three different groups of people potentially. So if you are in multiple classes for this summer session, you can use the same introduction. It's you, right? You can use the same introduction for all three of the classes. Um, when you're responding, and thanks for that question. When you're responding, oh, I apologize. Let me go back here. When you're responding to the discussion boards, I'm going to go through these steps again. Modules, week 1, discussion board. Here's the lecture videos, right? Those are the links to the videos. Our discussion boards here, you'll see that at the bottom, there's a button here that says reply. And so that will allow me to either type or copy and paste from a Word doc. If you're typing, maybe in a Word doc, if that's easier for you. This also can allow you to upload a link if you have a video posted somewhere, or if you are, there you go. You can record directly from here as well with your front-facing camera, maybe on your phone or on your laptop. So go ahead and type or post or link here, and then you're clicking reply to post it. Hopefully that makes sense. Oh yeah, look, awesome. Somebody's already in there. Good job. All right, let's jump back to the syllabus. So I showed you where the syllabus link was on the home page. I'm actually going to bring up, I think, a full PDF of the syllabus because of the navigation is really funky online for me. So we'll look at the practice syllabus. Let me switch screens here. All right, so here's the syllabus again. We're going to look front to back. I'm sorry, back to front, and go through this pretty quickly. But again, this is available for you to check out whenever you want. We saw in Canvas from start to finish, right? Every assignment listed out there in Canvas. This is kind of the same thing, but it gives us in one page. As a student, this is what I love to see. I love to see, hey, here's what we're talking about. Here's what's required of me. And so you'll see every week we've got about 2 chapters that we're covering. So we move pretty quickly through these 8 weeks. They go by fast. You'll see every week there's a discussion board, discussion board, discussion board. Here's that first exercise coming in at week 3. Chapters, discussion board, discussion board. Oh, here's another exercise in week 5. So I spread those out to kind of give you some space in there. So hopefully this helps kind of giving you an idea. Also, if any of you plan to travel, you'll see in just a second here when I scroll up that I do not take late work. So I've had enough of the real world experience to know that if I miss work, there's a chance that I might get fired. If you don't show up to work, you're going to at least get written up or something, right? So there are certain things that are built into my system here, and I'll show you these. You have a lot of flexibility, right? From Monday to Sunday, you have a lot of flexibility in getting these assignments done. The discussion boards, that first post is due on Thursday night, and then you're replying to 2 other people by Sunday. So you have a lot of room in there. If you work nights, if you work weekends, you're going to have to offset your schedule to get this work done, right? But after Sunday passes, especially on the discussion boards, when 45 students leave the discussion room to go into a different discussion room in week 2, you're going to be sitting in a room by yourself talking to yourself. There's no point in that for the sake of this class. So the discussion boards, especially the discussion boards, on Sunday they close down. There's no real opportunity to go back in because everybody left the room already. The chapter quizzes, you have an opportunity, even though they're due every week, you have an opportunity to go back and redo them over and over again. So if your goal is to get the highest grade possible in this class, you're going to be doing those quizzes over and over until you get 9s or 10s. You have control over those points. The discussion boards, I showed you the rubric already. You know how to earn those points. It's really going to come down to your time commitment to be able to post in those discussion boards. There's no right and wrong answers, right? So it just comes down to you supporting your own answers and then interacting with your colleagues in the class. Here's how the points lay out and why I can be firm on my no late work. You can see in the breakdown of these points that no one thing is going to kill your grade in and of itself, right? If you're showing up and doing your work every week, that's really going to maximize your points. You don't have to get an A on the final to get an A in the class. The point structure works out so that you have some flexibility there. I understand that not all people love tests. Multiple choice tests can be challenging. There's test anxiety. There's all those things, right? Now, if you're not doing your work every week and you get a C on the final exam, you're not going to get an A in the class, right? That doesn't make any sense. But if the points work out, this is how they're scheduled. It's possible to get A in here if you're showing up and doing your stuff. So you can see how these points are spread out. The chapter quizzes, 15, there's 15 of them, 10 points each. That's 150 points, a third of your grade. You can take over and over again to get the highest points possible. The discussion boards, they're due every week. No late ones, right? But if you put in the time and you put in your conversations, that's another 15% of your grade. You have control over that. Your exercises. These assignments, when they're due, they're due. I don't have them assigned until week 3, 5, 7, and 8, but I actually have them open for a total of 2 weeks. So if you want to start working ahead, these exercises are actually open a week before they're actually scheduled. Does that make sense? They take some time, right? I'm not saying any of this is easy. It's going to take time. But it's not hard, right? It's not meant to be difficult to be difficult. I'm hopefully helping you set yourself up for success here. You have control over these points. You're just getting your work done. The only subject, it's not even really subjective, but the thing that you can't really control is that final exam. And so I've offset again those points that if you're doing your work, right? If you took no final exam, you're going to get a D. Does that make sense? If you do everything right and you take 0 on your final exam, you're going to get a D. So anything above 0 points on your final is just more and more points, right? Um, but hopefully this also might alleviate some stress for you if tests are concerning for you. And on top of that, if you score less than 60% on the final exam, you don't retake the same exam, but there's a second exam that you can take in an attempt to score higher than 60. So let's just say you have a horrible week, you didn't do well in the final exam. You can actually have a second attempt at a second exam, not the same questions, to help your score on that final. Every single semester, I have students that ask, I want to do a pass, no pass. I don't care about my grade. You can read this yourself, but I'll just say it. I've never seen pass, no pass help a student. I've only seen it hurt a student. So if you don't care about your grade and you're going to get an F or a no pass, I don't know how that benefits you if you're doing pass, no pass. Maybe there's something in there with grade point averages or something, but for the Department of Real Estate, they'll actually take a D, a 60% at the state for passing. All right, I told you I was going to go through this one kind of quickly here. On the quizzes, I have a highlight here saying you must receive an 80% on every quiz. This is kind of a note to an older system, but I've left it in here on purpose because I feel like if you can consistently score at 80 or more on the quizzes, that's going to put you at a pretty decent place for your grade. If your goal is to get an A in here, you're going to take those quizzes over and over until you get a 9 or a 10 anyway. So this is just kind of a note to bring to attention. Like here's kind of a standard that would set you up for more success on the quizzes. So this page just goes over and talks about some of the things we've already discussed. I don't want to be repetitive. Again, you can go back and review this information. Your grade is the grade that you earn. I do not give grades. So at the end of every semester, it's inevitable. I'll have a student reach out. Oh, Rick, is there anything I can do to get an A? Yeah, you can show up and get your work done and then, not get a D or a C on the final. Um, Especially after the fact. I don't give points to anybody, just like I don't take points away from anybody. And so I set up these standards, kind of these rules, if you will, and they might seem kind of like harsh. Rick, you're mean. You don't take any late work. Um, but there's reason behind it. And I want to be consistent with everybody, and I want to give everybody the same opportunity in here. And so I set up very clear guidelines that are flexible week to week, right? You have Monday to Sunday to get a lot of this work done. Um, and to know that like I'm not handpicking people to like get an A because I like you. Just like I'm not giving Fs to people that I don't like. Like that doesn't make any sense, right? So I try to be as fair as possible in here, and so I hold consistent to this. So at the end of the class, when your Canvas total score points shows up at 88%, that's a B. That's what it comes out to, right? This is the scale that the college operates under, not me. So that's what these points look like and how they equate to the letter grade. I'm trying to just pull out. If you need any support, I think this office just recently changed their name, but there's links and phone numbers I give you in here for support and help along the way. Please feel free to reach out to me. Hey, Rick, I'm having a challenge. This thing is going on. I want to help you. Um, that doesn't mean that I'm giving you grades, right? But I want to help you succeed. I can maybe plug you into resources. I can give you guidance on how to move forward if you've missed some stuff. Again, not one of those areas in points is going to kill your grade by itself. You can have a bad week in this class and still get an A in the class. But do be in communication with me if you need help. I want to help you. If not with me, reach out to the campus. There's links, there's phone numbers. The IVC website obviously has a ton of resources. We have an amazing veteran center. We have free food and free housing if it's needed, free tech if you don't have it. There's a lot of resources at the campus to help you. Just to reiterate, we have two systems that you're going to need to be in. One, we already just saw Canvas. The second one is the GRL system. I will go ahead and log into that in just a moment so you can see what that looks like before we wrap up. And hopefully that will leave us a little window of time at the end for any additional questions. Let me check the chat. For the introduction, yeah, you can do a video. Where do I upload the video? Hopefully I answered that. Yeah, so to reiterate, if anybody wants to get in any of the sections that are running right now, please send me an email. I can send you an ad code. Are we able to advance at our own pace? No. So something actually by law, the question is, can you advance at your own pace? We cannot just give you everything all 8 weeks all at once. That's actually considered a correspondence class where you can get stuff done whenever you want. And we're actually not allowed to do that, if that makes sense. And so we do have things slated week by week. Now, if you're advantageous or maybe you want to work forward because you know you're going out of town in mid-July or something, you can in the GRL system and in your chapter work, you can work ahead in that chapter, right? You could read a book as fast as you want to read a book. But I can't open discussion boards in advance, if that makes sense, because that week is when we're in class together. I hope that answers that question is clear. Uh, awesome, awesome. I think it answers all the questions. Very good. We'll keep plugging away. So I'm going to stop there with the syllabus because we're running just a short on time. I want to respect your time tonight. Thank you again for being here. If at any point I have a note in here that I do not drop you, once you show up in week 1, I will not drop you. Um, which means if you're going to stop showing up and you're going to fail, you need to drop yourself. Okay. That responsibility is on you. If at any point you're feeling anxious, behind, like you can't catch up or you're going to fail, please reach out to me. Let's have a conversation. I would love to give you insight. A lot of times it may not be as bad as you feel it is, if that makes sense. All right, so let's jump into GRL real quick and then I will send you off. Hopefully you've gotten a good overview here of what's required of you, how to earn your points, how to maximize your points, and if your goal is to get an A in this class, how you can get an A. You've seen how to navigate Canvas, primarily relying on the Modules tab. And your quizzes, I'm going to show you right now in the GRL system. So I'm going to log into the law class because I don't feel like we've seen any of that law stuff yet. I'm pulling up a page here so that you can see it, and then I'll share screen right now. Spring, fall, spring, summer 2024. Sorry, I'm looking for the section that's listed. Huh. Well, this will work at least for now. Slowly. There we go. Let me share screen. So here's what the GRL system looks like. Note at the top, here's a chapters button. This looks a little bit different, so I apologize. There's some stuff here that you won't see, right? This is my stuff as a teacher. But here is your chapters. When you click on chapters, you'll come to a page. There you go, chapter 1. Also, after you get off that home page in the system, you'll also see a drop-down menu here that you can also select and go to. I want to point out something really quick. I know we're right in our last minute. The system is set up basically in pages. Here's your first page, and you'll see the next button. Here's your next page of reading. You're going to read and read and read. At the bottom of each of these pages, sorry, it's a long one. This is law. At the bottom of these pages, there is something called a knowledge check. Please note, knowledge checks are not included in your final grade. You do not get points for this knowledge check. The point of this knowledge check, begin your attempt, is to recap on the information that you just read about. So it gives you a little bit of a recap at the end of each page, so it kind of keeps you in tune to the reading. That kind of, not truly interactive, but kind of gives you a little bit more involvement in the reading, allowing you to recap. Here's page 2. Read, read, read. This is a smaller page. Here's your knowledge check. Again, I'm passing it right now, right? But you can go through and try to reiterate, kind of recap what you're learning on each of these pages. These knowledge checks are not part of your grade. The quizzes that are part of your grade are at the end of each of these chapters. Here's the summary page. Chapter 1 quiz. Unit quizzes are included in your final grade. Here is your 10-point chapter quiz. I feel like too often I'll have a student, they'll be like, I did all my quizzes. And like I see just zeros, right? They did all the knowledge checks, but not the quizzes. And so here's your 10 questions, multiple choice. Go through, save your answers. I am finished, submit for a grade. If you want to check how you're doing in this class, you have the gradebook tab where you can click and see those points that you're earning in every chapter. Again, mine looks a little bit different because I'm the teacher. But hopefully that gives you a real quick snapshot. It's a pretty easy system once you get in there, pretty easy to navigate. And hopefully with those knowledge checks, it gives you an opportunity to kind of recap some of the things that you're reading about. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, we are at 8 o'clock. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to end the recording in just a second. I think I answered all the questions in the chat. After I end recording, feel free to ask away any additional questions. Thank you again for being here. I'm glad to have you in the IVC real estate department. And I wish you all the best of luck and everything. Again, I'm here to support you and give you everything I can to help you succeed. Let's have a great 8 weeks together. Thanks.